Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to our 8th group coach-a-thon. We're in the month of August and it's going to be Christmas time before we know it. Hey,
Don't mention it.
yeah, I know. It's like it comes fast enough without you bringing it to our attention. But we got one thing that we can enjoy, the thought of cooler weather, right? For those of us that have been hit with this heat that has plagued the states. They're saying that they've got record temperatures in some of the states that have never ever been reached before, ever in the history of the states. So I know I've got friends in Texas and they're saying they've had record breaking heat temperatures in Texas. So I know Florida had them several years ago, but not this year. So we'll be looking forward to that cool weather when Christmas gets here, right?
Yeah, mine's very cold.
Yeah, you're up in cold country. Yeah, so is Kathy. She's up in cold country too. So, well,
Anyway,
welcome. I'm so happy to have you guys here, and I'm going to I have trying to intrigue everybody about this thought about what I'm going to talk about tonight is that one thing that everybody struggles with in their life and in their business. They can't take it off. They can't put it down. They can't walk away from it. So how many of you were intrigued with that?
Me.
Kathy was, Sandra was. Marianne probably knows what it is. Amy, she put a thumbs up. She was. Well, I was kind of hoping that it was intriguing enough to bring more people in tonight, but I guess I didn't do a very good job of promoting it. But we're going to talk about this. What's between your ears is the number one thing that people struggle with in their life and in their business. And hopefully, after tonight, you'll come away with some aha moments or some insights about what those interrupters are for you in your life and in your business and what you can do about them. So again, I like this to be interactive. So if there's something you guys want to ask, a question, just pipe up, ask your question. If it gets too noisy, I'll have to mute you. And then you can just raise your hand, I guess, or something if you want to ask a question and interrupt me. That's fine. Interruptions are welcome because interaction means interruption. And because I share my screen, I can't see that you guys are wanting to speak unless you hit that raise your hand button down below there in the screen or in the reactions or however you get to it. If you can't unmute yourself, if you're not muted, go ahead. Just say, can I ask a question? Or just interrupt me, okay? But if you're muted and you can't unmute for some reason, then you might want to use the reactions and raise your hand. And I know Marcy is going to be off audio tonight and Amy, but use the chat. I'll try to see if there's anything coming in through the chat while I'm doing the presentation. If not, somebody feel free to speak up and say, oh, Amy has a question, or Amy's made this comment, or Marcy's made this comment, or whatever, okay? We'll work together as a team. Practice some leadership skills while we're learning. How's that sound?
good.
Sound like a good idea? Okay, all right, let me get started. Don't want to keep you too long. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, hopefully you can all see my screen.
Yes.
All righty. So let's get started. The area between your ears is your biggest problem. Have you ever heard this before? You become what you think about. Anybody? Anybody heard that before? Does anybody know who says it? Come on, you guys, you gotta have some personal development people in your life that you've heard this from before. Nobody?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess, sorry, I raised my hand, but you probably didn't see it. I'm gonna say Napoleon Hill.
No?
No?
Let's see if we got an answer here. Oh, Amy says she saw it in in her book, a military guy. No. I talked about him today on our mastermind, but it was not Napoleon Hill.
What's his name? What's his name? Nightingale?
Yeah, there you go. Yep, Earl Nightingale talks about you become what you think about. And so does Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor talks about it as well. So the first thing that we want to try to do here is look at how can we gain control, because that is the solution to having control over the things going on in our head, the voices that you hear when you're trying to make a decision, or you have an aha moment, or you have a brainstorm about, I want to be this, I want to do that. So we have to learn how to separate ourselves from our psychosis, which is hearing voices. So how many of you have ever heard of schizophrenia, or have you ever known anyone who has schizophrenia?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
What's one of the number one things that's the number one symptom of a person suffering from schizophrenia? Anybody know?
Hearing voices?
Yes, they hear voices. Exactly. So does that mean that we're schizophrenic because we hear voices?
No.
No. There's a big difference between actual voices in our head that control us and make us do things that we know in our heart is wrong, but have no power over it. So we want to be able to recognize when we have those voices and that that's what they are, and that we can control when we hear them and what we're going to do about it. And the number one way that you do that is focus on tuning into your consciousness. And when I talk about that, we have things that are on autopilot, they're buried in our subconscious. They're called a habit. Sometimes they're called a false belief if it's a lie, and we've been doing the things that are not true about us in our life over and over and over again. We act like it feels like it becomes our reality, when in actuality, we can do something about it and change that paradigm and replace it with the paradigm that serves us. And the only way that you can do that is to be willing to pay attention to your consciousness. Now, does anybody have any situation that they've bumped into where they recognized that it was something that they had been doing as a habit for a long time, but that habit was not serving them, and they paid attention to it and made that choice to replace it? Anybody willing to confess or share with us? It doesn't have to be a bad habit. It can just be anything, but it interferes with your flow, and it interferes with your success as a leader, as an employer, as an employee, as a coworker, as a parent, a child, a sibling. It interferes with the way that we behave, that it can sometimes cause us problems. Nobody has anything they think of off the top of their head? That's fine, no problem. So we want to step outside of ourselves and take an aerial view. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever sat before a coach where they've done that with you. And what I want you to kind of picture is, you know who you are right now, you know who you are today. You have goals in your business, goals in your life of where you want to be tomorrow. But how far out have you looked? Have you looked at where you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And if you have done that, have you actually purposefully tried to connect with that outside person? You have your person of today and you have a future self within you. They are both doing things within you to help you to reach those goals. So what I like to do is I like to take my clients into a place where they actually can close their eyes and visualize themselves in that future that they're trying to build, that future that they're trying to reach in their business as a business owner, or even in a company that they're working with, where they want to be in the future in that business that they're working as an employee. And when we do that, we actually can find ourselves finding those things that are in between our present person, present self, and our future self. We can find those emotions that we have today and see the emotions that we would have in the future and want to connect with those future pieces for today. It takes a lot of work, but it can be done. And I know every one of you are programmed to do something great. Every one of you are, because you are doing great things even now. But when we question ourselves, and questioning ourselves is the tool that we need to be doing, because it's a good thing when we start to question ourselves. But if we allow those questions that we ask ourselves to be holding us back, now we have a problem, and decide not to do anything about that question. So the other piece on gaining control is, do you find yourself in autopilot often? I know I sometimes do. I sometimes find myself, my yesterday, I'm repeating yesterday today, when actually I had things on my calendar that I didn't do yesterday that I need to do today, but for some reason I didn't write them in my calendar and I didn't get them done. So we often will find ourselves in autopilot. And the goal for gaining control is recognizing when we're in autopilot so that we can try to do something about it. And again, that's oftentimes a false belief, a habit that we're doing, that we did since we were a child, or somebody told us we weren't good enough and we believed it and we carry that with us. I had a session with a young lady yesterday who is a transformational coach. And in our conversation, she was talking about trying to build her business on Facebook and attract prospects to her and get some clients. And we were talking about different things that I've done in my business, like workshops, challenges, when we were doing the studies, the book studies. And she got that aha moment. She goes, oh, she said, well, I had this 4-week course on confidence, trying to help her clients create that confidence they need within themselves. She works with women entrepreneurs who are new to the online space as an entrepreneur. And you remember the day when you started your business and the lack of confidence you had in yourself of going live and pushing that go live button, or prospecting and talking to that prospect? Well, she's trying to help them to build that confidence because they are telling her that they don't feel worthy or good enough. And I said, that's a great idea. And I told her about my mastermind that I have launched, my mastermind membership community, which only costs $25 a month. We meet every Tuesday for at least an hour, and we do a little bit of masterminding, connecting with each other, talking about what we're doing during our week, what didn't go right, what we want to improve on. And we're working through Napoleon Hill's book as well. We're using that as our basis for the mastermind because he's the man that created mastermind. And I told her that, and she says, oh, she said, well, this 4-week course that I have, that's what I was going to do. She was going to sell it for $25. And I said, okay, so what happened? She said, oh, people aren't going to want to pay for that. And I said, what was the name of that course again? And she said, Confidence. And I said, what was the name of that course again? And she said, Confidence. And when I asked her the third time, she sat back and she blushed and she goes, oh. So with that said, she didn't have the confidence in herself to teach other people how to be confident. So how can she teach confidence? So now she recognizes it. Oh yeah, that was her voice in her head that was telling her she wasn't good enough. And she listened to it, she obeyed it, and she stood down. So now she's planning on launching her confidence 4-week course for $25. And I'm so proud of her. And that's what we're talking about here today, is recognizing when we're allowing that voice in our head to control us and not overcoming it. So the number one thing that we should be doing is personal development. It should be the top thing on your list. If it's not today, I'm going to challenge each one of you to make sure that that is going to be the top number one thing that you're putting on your list for every day. Now, what does that look like? It can be reading Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It can be reading one of Bob Proctor's books. It can be reading a Tony Robbins book. It can be reading one of the great leaders' books. It can be listening to Earl Nightingale on YouTube every day. It doesn't have to be an entire program, but listen to 20 minutes of that program every day until you get through that first program, and then 20 minutes the next day, or read for 20 minutes every single day. But you should be doing something every day outside of, if you've got a coach that you're working with, it's got to be outside of working with that coach. It's got to be outside of working with your team leaders. It's got to be outside your everyday actions that you're doing for your business, because that is something that you're doing for you. And it's a unique thing for each one of you, for whatever things you like to learn more about to grow yourself. You know, Wayne Dwyer's Living a Life of Intention. You've got, I know Amy was reading The Monk. You know, we should be doing something like that every day. And if you're not, get going at it. Next, you must love what you do. Do you love what you do? Are you in love with the products that you sell? Are you on fire for getting that information out to other people so they can enjoy a healthier lifestyle or enjoy the organic products that you enjoy while you're helping the environment to be cleaner? And are you making a difference? Now, when I ask that question, if you're not communicating with other people the solutions that your product has, then how are you making a difference? You're making a difference by using the product, by improving your well-being, but you want to be able to help other people see the difference that you're making in your life and in the world you live in, so that they can learn how to make a difference in their life. And then you have to learn that you've got to sell you to you. Every day, you've got to be selling you to you. Every day, you've got to be your number one cheerleader, that you got your feet on the floor in the morning and it's a great day. It's if you're dragging yourself out of bed and you have a negative attitude about even having to take the covers off so you can get out of bed, you've already started your day out on a bad note. So we have to learn how to change our mindset and be purposeful in it, because many people say happiness is a gift. But I say happiness is a choice. You can get up no matter how horrible your environment is and choose to be happy. And that helps change other people that are around you as well. Next, we want to recognize boundaries. When you recognize you did or said something you regret, that is a sign that you are paying attention to that noise in your head. And when you pay attention to that noise in your head, now do you have the tools that you need to learn what to do with it and how to turn it around for the good, or remove whatever that noise is from your environment? We have to be able to pay attention to what triggers us. Do you see yourself coming off negative a lot? You know, I always thought myself as a positive person. I've always thought myself to be a positive person. But when I started paying attention, I recognized that I actually had a very critical spirit and would come off with judgmental comments. You know, maybe it was like an employee that I worked with. You know, I don't know why they give her that job. I could do it so much better. Well, it should have been, I should just be grateful that I have a job and that I have work to do. I don't need to add more work to my plate. But when I recognized that I was doing that, I went on a mission to decide to choose to do something about it and chose to be more positive. And I know many of you participated in the Positive Mental Attitude Challenge, and we went through a lot of the things that Napoleon Hill talks about with being positive, and you learned from it. That's part of personal growth. We need to recognize where that message is coming from. So when I was doing the negative thoughts and the negative actions, I actually had to dig deep down into my soul to find out, where's this coming from? Why do I feel this way? Then you look back at your childhood. Well, was I bullied in school? Yeah, I was always overweight. I was always heavy. So, you know, people were always calling me names. We were raised Catholic. We lived in a neighborhood that had Lutherans in it. So we were constantly fighting the neighbor kids because we were Catholic. They would bully us because we were Catholic. We didn't attack them because they were Lutheran, so we couldn't understand. It was like, what's the problem here? What's the big deal? So you have to look, you have to have the courage to look back into your past and recognize those things that are affecting us today, with holding us back from being who God created us to be because of our past experiences.
Yes.
We don't want to become our past experiences. We have to be learning from them. And then you want to learn a mastery technique. So when you're triggered, you can bring yourself back to the now and adjust. And many of you probably have heard about me with some of the tracking, I call it, you know, that I do the tracking all the time, always tracking myself, always tracking what I'm saying, what I'm doing. And I found myself often in the car when I'm on the way. I would find myself in the car actually when I was trying to work through this negative stuff, driving, and I would be moving along and somebody pull out in front of me, and then I'd be, you idiot, what's wrong with you? You know, you didn't have to pull out in front of me. There's absolutely nobody coming up behind me. You could have waited till I passed, you know, and I recognize that that's being negative and enraged. And I know you guys are aware of people that do road rage, and people die because of road rage. It happens all the time. So I went on a mission to purposefully recognize when that happens. I would put my hand up and I would say, stop, that's it, I'm done. That's not mine. That does not belong to me. I do not accept it. And then I would walk, you know, just move on to the next thought. And that actually works. And it actually helped me to stop reacting the old way and bring in a new way of reacting. As leaders, which all of you are, You have to be able to question yourself and manage that little voice. You have to observe objectively, evaluate, then act and correct. Then act and correct again, and do not allow yourself to go into autopilot. My example of my tracking myself whenever I find myself going down that rabbit hole, stopping myself and turning myself around. It actually became autopilot. So I didn't have to worry about doing those things anymore, because now it's an automatic. Somebody pulls up in front of me, it's like, I'm just going to be a cautious driver. I'm going to be a defensive driver and protect myself from other people. Most people are too used to letting that CD play in their minds. They don't stop and pay attention long enough to recognize that it is playing and not always playing the right message. So anyone resonating with any of these things, you can drop it in the chat or just say yes, or good stuff, or whatever.
Yes.
What was that, Kathy?
I said, yes, yeah.
Okay, good, good. So as you record your journey, make sure to write down the disturbing, the successful, and the challenges so you can assess your role and adjust as you move forward in your life and in your business. Now, hopefully you brought your journal with you. Hopefully you have a piece of paper, because I want you to write these questions down, and I want you to make sure that you're going to be asking yourself, what did I learn? What part did it cause? Where did my thoughts come from? Where did my actions come from? And where did my results really come from? When you can improve your ability to question, evaluate, acknowledge, and even direct your own little voice, your life will take on richer meaning. And when I say write these down, it means when that voice pops up, you ask it, okay, what did I learn? This voice is whatever the situation is. You dissect that situation. You break it up into parts. What part did I cause? Where did my thoughts come from? Is it coming from a childhood trauma? Is it coming from someone that I loved and cared about, that I thought really cared about me, and they were critical? Was it supposed to be constructive criticism, but I took it as an offense? When I need to learn not to always be offended by other people's opinions, because other people's opinions are exactly that. It's their opinion. It does not have to be your opinion. And you do not have to own the opinion of other people. That's where you build up that confidence in who you are and where did my results really come from. So those questions are very helpful for you to be trying to pay attention to when you're listening to that little voice. Now, how many have ever heard of the hero's journey? Anybody? No, nobody's
No,
ready?
no, I haven't. It's not no, it's not ringing any bells.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, maybe you're in for a treat. I don't see anything in the chat. So I'm assuming nobody has ever heard of the hero's journey. Oops. Let's go back. Whoops. I went too far. Went the wrong way. Come on. Okay, so we're on the hero's journey. How many of you have ever heard of you've got Robin Hood? I think you even have Peter Pan. We have, storybook characters that started out looking like the villain and ended up being the hero. You got Beauty and the Beast. So those are just stories. But I want you to recognize that you have a story. And your story is your journey. And I want you to start thinking about creating your story journey and focusing on the changes along the way. Your journey starts, as you can see, this hiker. What can we say about this hiker? What does he have? He's got a backpack and he's got a map, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what can we say about him as he's getting started on his journey?
He's prepared.
He's prepared. Exactly. He's equipped. So we look at that character and we think, okay, that's me. I'm doing my personal development. I'm doing my lessons from this course that I paid for or have attended, or this seminar, or this webinar, or this challenge I'm involved in. I'm taking action. So you got to get yourself prepared for your journey. And your story starts with that preparation. And you guys can go and look at your past, especially as entrepreneurs. When did you first think about becoming an entrepreneur? Was it a child? Were you a child? Do you come from an entrepreneurial family like I do? And you saw your parents get successful businesses? Or you worked in an industry that you absolutely enjoyed doing and wanted to do it as a business yourself? So you're going to have a beginning of your story. So as you're writing your story, you think about those things and you start writing them down. Because your story starts with that call to adventure. And all of us are called to adventure. Even as a child, learning how to ride a bike is an adventure. Learning how to drive a car is an adventure. Learning how to play baseball or football is an adventure. And as you are on your journey, you're going to meet mentors. You're going to run into mentors. As a business owner with an opportunity, you're going to have team leaders. You're going to have other people in your opportunity that are doing what you're doing. And they may have more experience. So they'll mentor you, bring you under their wing. You may be an author, you may be writing a book, and you're connected with other authors or successful authors, and you're learning from them. So they're mentoring you on your journey. Now, as you can look at this picture, you see the top portion of it. That's your normal world. That's the world that you've been living in, that you've come through. There is a point in your journey and in your story where you're going to cross over that threshold from the normal parts of your life into the unknown parts of your life. Now, that unknown portion of your story may be further down than what you're looking at in this picture, because you've been doing it for quite a while. So you have a lot more of what was a trial or a failure that you've overcome that now is just a part of the normal part of your story, because you've got that tool. And then you've got helpers that have helped you along your journey. And then you're growing. So you're always looking for new skills to develop. Because if you stay where you're at right now in your business and don't develop new skills and personal development, professional development, you're going to be stuck. And you may not ever cross over from death to rebirth and revelation, so that you can start implementing all the new things that you've learned about yourself and make the changes that are needed for atonement to start receiving the gift, which is success of money in your bank account, that $1 million that you want to reach, or the 100K you want to reach, or the 10K, whatever it is. That's your journey, and your story is everything that you've been doing, the steps you've been taking, the things you've been doing on this journey to bring you up to now. You've got all that behind you. It's part of your life, part of your experience. So now you're back into the normal portion of your world which on the left side of this picture is not the same normal that was on the right side. It's a better normal. And when you get to the end, guess what you do? Anybody?
Start over.
You start over. So you can look at this hero's journey as this is just a season. It's a season of your life that you're going to be recording over and over and over again and making it better and better and better. And as you do this, if we don't stop and take time to answer these questions that I have listed here, and hopefully you've written them down, what did I learn on my journey? What part did I cause? Where did my thoughts come from? Where did my actions come from? And where did my results really come from? And all of these questions, when you have those answers, you're automatically building that confidence that you need to have to be able to become that person that you have seen in your future that you want to become as you make those steps to become that person. Any questions or comments or anything you want to share? Okay, we'll move on. So gain your confidence. Be true to who you are. Be true to who you are right now. Who you are right now may not be who you want to be tomorrow, but you have to be true to who you are right now so that you can get more from your life and get serious about your life. Make sure that you follow these steps. First of all, do not talk yourself out of things just because it doesn't feel good, because that little voice is going to try to interrupt you when you're trying to move forward, because it's going to be trying to protect you. It doesn't want you to be sad and hurt, and maybe somebody will speak unkind words to you that will hurt your heart. But you have to be able to build that confidence in yourself to know that you are who you are, and that people have their own opinion, and it's their opinion. You're not out to change their opinion. You're just out to be who you were created to be. And then repeat the experiences that you need to have confidence again. And do some role playing if you have to. You know, again, go back into the idea of this is my present me. I have a future self, and I have that vision for that future self that I can see being successful, doing those things that I desire to do in my life. And I am on that road to get there. And practice overcoming the objections that hinder you. Make sure that you are doing positive mental attitude self-talk for yourself every day. Today's a great day. I am successful. I am powerful. I am succeeding. I am taking action so that you can continue to move forward when those objections pop up. You can also look at practice overcoming objections that hinder you in your prospecting process. When you're prospecting and you are taught to always have a response to the objection the person that you're prospecting is going to come up with. If you aren't practicing that and having those things available, you're going to get yourself into a situation where that voice is going to say, man, you're so stupid, you don't know anything. Why are you even doing this? And I guarantee you it's going to happen. But if you are actively working on making sure that you have an objection for a response to every objection that you can think of when you go into your prospecting, then when you have an objection that you hadn't thought of, you may mess up. You may have that voice talk badly to you, but now you know, oh, this is another question that someone's going to ask that I need to have a response to and be able to respond to it in a manner of, you know, that's a really great question. I really don't know what to tell you, but I will find out and I will definitely get back to you with the answer. And immerse yourself in projects, tasks, and dig in deep. Dig deep when you're doing those projects. When you've made that decision that you're going to do this in your business, make sure that you're committed and that you're not going to give up. Now, who do you know? Who do you know that's a leader in your industry? That's an influencer in your industry. Do you know anyone in your industry that you maybe follow and desire to model? Anybody? Do you do that at all, or have you never ever thought about following leaders that you resonate with and model them?
I try.
Okay, good, Kathy. That's good. That's awesome. You're aware that you need to be doing that, and you're taking action to seek out some of those leaders, I'm assuming, and
Yeah.
seeing what they're doing, seeing how they speak, see how they hold themselves, see what they're doing in their business, and then start modeling them. Now, one of the number one things that you often will hear from some of the leaders that are making the really big bucks is act as if. Act as if you've already got that $1 million home that you have on your want list, that you already have that sports car that you desire in your life. Now, the reason they say that is this. You don't want to come off as fake by making people think you already have these things. And I know you'll see a lot of these posts on Facebook where you've got someone, and I don't think we've seen a whole lot of it this last few years, but when I first got on Facebook, you would see this person that was a business builder, and they were standing in front of a Ferrari like they owned it, making everybody assume that they earned enough money in their company to be able to get this or win it or buy it or whatever. When in fact, they just took it for a joyride and stopped somewhere and stood in front of it and had somebody take a picture of them with it. Now, that is not what I'm talking about. But what I am talking about is this. When you have those things in your life that you want to achieve, whether it be that $1 million home, that Ferrari, that beach house, what you want to do is, I don't know why we're getting feedback. What you want to have is go to that car dealer and look at that car, sit in that car, see what it feels like. That's what they're talking about. You want to be able to connect with that feeling of that success in your future, that when you get to be that successful, you're not right now, but for the future, by doing this and going to that car dealer and sitting in that car, smelling the interior, seeing all the fancy lights and bells and whistles and buttons, and feel what it feels like. And I can talk about that because when a few years ago, my daughter needed a car, and she wanted a car that would have 3 seats in it, because she was a business owner and she was cleaning houses and she had children and she needed to transport. She doesn't want to have to empty out her car every time that she had to go to work. And so I bought her a Buick Enclave. Now, let me tell you what, this was a used vehicle, but this was a luxury vehicle. And I loved driving that thing. I enjoyed driving it. And
I'm a big Buick car fan.
Are you? That's awesome, Alejandro. And I enjoyed that feeling of owning and driving this luxury car that wasn't mine. I bought it for my daughter. And even though it was used, it was like, man, I'd love to have a car like that. I don't have a car like that. But I connected with that emotional feeling for the future. So when my business is big enough and I have the income that I know I'm going to have, I will one day be able to buy a car like that. The same with a home. If there's a home that you desire and you go to, whenever they have open houses for real estate, you can actually go. I recommend going to that open house and walk into these incredible homes that you desire to live in and have, so you can connect with that emotional feeling. Because when you connect with that emotional feeling, that's what keeps you driving forward in your business, up the hills, through the valleys, crossing the rivers, to that bridge that takes you to that success. That's what I'm talking about. Now, there are heroes and there's villains. That's just life. That's the way it is. But we want you, the hero, to recognize that you are the champion, because you have the champion within you. But there's also the loser who fights the angel and the devil. We all have it. That little voice in our head that always tries to interrupt us. Which one are you going to allow to win? Are you going to take the steps? Are you going to do the personal and professional development? Are you going to start making that commitment to yourself so that you can win as the hero? Or do you want the villain to win out? And how will you get from step A, where you are now, to step B, where you want to be? What value do you have to offer? What resistance shows up when you're trying to build your business? These are things that you need to be thinking about and pondering on and coming up with the answers. So what does God say about you? In Psalm 139, verse 23, he says, "Oh God, you know my heart." This is David speaking, and he knows God knew his heart. "Try me. You know my thoughts as well." So God knows your heart. He knows your thoughts, and he's there to help push you forward when you need it and lift you up if you will let him and allow him to do that. So I just want to present the golden circle to you, because maybe some of you have forgotten about this part of you in your building your business. Your why has to be the most powerful thing in your life force to keep you moving forward. If it's not strong enough, you've already set yourself up for failure. And it's a known fact that very few organizations know why they do what they do. Why is not about making money. That's just the result. The why is a purpose, a cause, or a belief. It's the very reason that your organization exists. It's the very reason that you decided to get into that opportunity. Many times these successful people that have been successful in network marketing are successful is because they didn't have a choice. The only choice they had was to take action, get into that opportunity, get out there, hit the pavement, and make those sales to get their family out of living in their car or living in their parents' garage or their parents' basement. It's the only way they had. They didn't have a choice, but it was driving within them strong enough that they managed to do it. Now, your why has to be powerful enough that you're going to constantly be working your business even when you don't feel like it, even when you're too tired, or even when you're tired of hearing that nasty voice in your head bring you down time and time again, because only until you can push that noise out of your head and bring in the positive reinforcements that you need to have will you be able to move forward. Now, the how, some organizations know how they do it. These are the things that make them special or set them apart from their competitors. So the way that you're building your business has to be unique, because there's other people that might be in the same industry you are. And you've got to stand out from the competition, stand out from the crowd, and be your unique self, because people buy from people. They don't necessarily buy because of the product. They buy because of the person that they've met. And then the what. every organization on the planet knows what they do. These are their products that they sell or the services that they offer. So you want to make sure that you believe in what you're doing and the products and the services that you provide, that they are going to be unique because of your uniqueness. Now, if you're not familiar with Simon Sinek and you want to know more about the Golden Circle, you can certainly Google it and get more information on it if you want more information. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention and ask you, why are you doing what you do? And if anyone has a passion for why they're doing what you do, I would be extremely surprised if you didn't pop up and give us one. Nobody? This is an interactive meeting. Nobody has a why strong enough that you want to be able to profess it to the universe?
Oh,
My
that's
why is to help people.
What was that, Kathy?
Said my why is to help people to better their health and their mental health.
Okay. And why do you want to do that?
Because I care about people, because I've seen what things like that have done to myself and my family, and I want to help others to get through those things.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. Anybody else?
uh, I'm doing it for a similar reason to Kathy. It's really I'm doing it to be able to, because that's on the back end. My number one is really to get financially freed up somewhat, but thinking beyond that, it would definitely be to change the lives of the many people I know I could touch. Uh, once successful, and I think that's really an evident thing that comes with it is changing other people's lives. So in doing that, of course, you're helping them, especially at a time like now. Again, I have my mind focused on finance, but there's other freedoms that come with that. Geographical freedom, uh, the ability to just live a more fulfilling life. I always have these visions of having to come through for my favorite charity, or having to help out a friend in dire need of, you know, either financing or helping out my community, uh, because I can. As you know, most things are connected to some way of contributing to someone financially. Now, there's other things too, like changing mindsets and changing people's lives, not because of the money, but because of the fact that their mindset is forever changed once we acquire success. I'm convinced of that. Once we could do it once, there's a good chance we could do it again. And you think it's about winning. We have an obligation to be successful. The more and more I see this, we be more valuable having something under our belts. And most of us know this because we've been successful at one point or another. And we know the benefits of success. That's something that you can always bring those things to someone. You could always forward it. But I notice the world does look for a certain level of success out of all of us. So that in itself is significant, because once the success is there, you can duplicate it and you could also share it.
Well said, Alejandro. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Marcy says, because I love helping others to get and stay organized. Yes, she does. And she does a great job at it too. She really has a passion for it. And you can see the passion that Marcy has in everything that she does. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Marcy. So in summary, my desire for you as leaders is to come off autopilot and start questioning yourselves, managing that little voice, observing objectively, evaluating, then acting and correcting as you go. Be sure to look back at your life and ask yourself, what did you learn? Again, hopefully you're taking notes. What did you learn through your life? If you're going to try to do your hero story and start writing it down, make sure you are answering these questions. What did you learn on that journey? What part did you cause in that journey? Where did your thoughts, actions, and results really come from? It doesn't matter if it's during the course of years, days, or hours. What matters is that you are moving forward. And we can look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 through 8, which is the scriptures on to everything there is a season. And I know most people are familiar with that because of the song that has been produced several years ago. But if you want to dig a little deeper into that, I highly recommend that you open up the scriptures and look at that and see what it speaks to you about you and where you're at in your journey. Now, I'm challenging each and every one of you because each and every one of you are a superhero. Okay? So I want you to commit to making your superpower stance often, every chance you get. When you're feeling like, I can't go any further, stand tall with your chin raised high and your hands on your waist or your hips and say, you've got this, that you are going to succeed. You're going to keep moving forward in your life and in your business as a superhero because that's what you were created to be, and that's who you truly, honestly are. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Anybody have any closing comments or anything they want to share with us before we go? I know, Alejandro, you came in late. You're going to have to watch the replay. You missed a
I
lot.
will. I will. I missed the bulk of it, but I got caught up with this Own Your Future event with Tony Robbins, and then my alarm went off, and it's like, that alarm's been going on for a minute now. Let me get in there anyway. Hopefully MJ is still on with, you know, with her community, with a community which I'm a part of. So I'm really honored to be on, trying to catch a little bit of what you had. Now I'll see next month, being that I told you I have this other thing I do every Tuesday, but for these 2 summer months, and I think you had it last month, I missed you. I'm gonna see if I could alternate from month to month, probably be on 1 month with you for the coach-a-thon, and then on with the organization this charitable organization I work with on the second Tuesday of every month. That's how come I don't end up showing up. But I'm gonna do my best to be present moving forward, at least alternating months.
We'd be happy to have you, Alejandro, but if you're registered, you get the email of the replays that you can watch at your convenience. And I actually have them on YouTube. It's a public playlist. So if you get an email with the replay and you go to that YouTube channel, you can watch all this whole year's replays. You have access to all of them.
That's good, because I do, you know, it's about a lot of note taking, like what you covered today was quite significant. The affirmations being before actually arriving, that's, you know, still something that I don't get tired of going over and reviewing, studying, and affirming things daily to myself so they can manifest. That's still at the cusp of what I'm working on. And you know, I've observed how I just stopped doing it. I need to stay around leaders such as yourself and communities like this to constantly remind myself to get restabilized and move forward.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that you are deciding to make that commitment. That's awesome.
Yes.
So,
Thank you, MJ. There's no way out right now. The job industry right now, we already know it's and the older I get, the more quick these jobs happen. You know, they got the right to let you go for whatever reason, and I constantly keep bouncing back and saying, you know, for fulfilling life, I'm gonna have to keep pursuing this. You know, and you know I'm into network marketing, so
yeah, I know that, and you know, the thing about it is network marketing is the #1 industry that produces more millionaires in the world than any other industry.
Right.
So why settle for working for somebody else?
I think it's a tremendous way of just adding value to yourself. Because if you have money, you could start a business. It's just the amount of money it costs to run a business, you know. But network marketing gives you a chance to really just invest minimal amounts and have the potential to grow that network, you know. So in the end,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, you're
yeah,
already in that industry that
yeah,
produces millionaires, and I can see you being one of them. It's sometimes just that self-commitment, commitment to the family, to be able to be willing to do what you have to do to provide for them. Network marketing is not easy. It is not.
capital E, capital
The
E across,
family can't,
capitalize that whole word.
you can't let that, the family can't let you go for like, just give me a year, family. Give me 1 year of doing
Yeah,
and focusing on this business. That's all I ask. You will
I'm
succeed.
convinced I'm not going to do it without a coach or a mentor. It's just not going to happen. Network marketing.
Well, I mean, hopefully the
Yeah.
opportunity you're in has some good leaders in it that are driving
Oh yeah. There's some tremendous leaders, but
you.
you
Yeah,
know what they profess now is like you are the CEO of your organization,
you
and
are.
that is,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
and we got to see work from you. We got to see something. You know, we got to see that you're calling us with a name or a prospect.
exactly.
They're working with the most productive people. You know, I can't blame them for that. Right now, the biggest deal is the product. Like I told you, I'm excited about the product. I just need the other side of it. That's to take my stories and use those as I'm prospecting, because I do have tremendous stories of myself winning because of the product. So the products are huge too.
Yeah,
Just got to transfer that energy to whatever team I'm building.
but you got to
Yeah.
be prospecting.
Right. Right.
Your time needs to be prospecting.
And I mean, yeah, prospecting. I was talking
And
to someone about 25
you
people.
talk to John Spain if you want to, but we started using Penny, which is a place that you can put your prospects and have them in one spot and keep up with when's the last conversation you had with them, when are you supposed to talk to them again, and it tells you. You just tell it to schedule it for you, and then you just
Yeah.
have to start doing it. In an hour, you can get through 25 to 30 people in an hour. Prospect on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Right. And it's
You know,
customized to
take
isogenics
that
too.
1 hour, an hour a day if you can, and just focus on that one task, and you will see results. You will see positive results. Guarantee it.
I'll be following up with you, and I'll be chiming in. Hopefully, I don't think we're going to have a meeting with this organization in September. It's
Okay.
going to be pushed over to October. So I'll show up and work on getting here on time for the next.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're talking about in September. Anybody have any suggestions on what they want to talk about in September? No? Marianne was going to say something. She came off mic.
I'm on mic, but I don't know why it's not working.
You weren't going to say something?
No.
Okay. All right. Kathy? You're good? You're on mute. You're good? Okay. Sandra's back exercising. She left us for the gym. No, she's multitasking. She's always multitasking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No
I
worries.
had to step away.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. We're just picking on you. We love you.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And if you happen to think of something that you'd like me to be able to put something together on, just send me a message or whatever. But I'll see if I can come up with something for next month.
Okay.
I'll do that. I'll do that, MJ. I'll send you some whatever ideas I may have
Okay.
rumbling in my head.
Okay.
Marcy says September. How about ways to effectively network vendor groups? Well, I mean, I don't know that much about networking and vendor groups, Marcy. You're
Mm.
the vendor group expert, so, I think I think I have done a coach-a-thon on networking. I can do another one on networking, and then you can pipe in and help give us some suggestions if you are up for it with, and I know you can't necessarily be live with us, but, you could put it in the chat, some recommendations, or send me some content, Marcy. Send me some content about it, and I'll see if I can put something together. How's that sound? I can do a slideshow or something if you can send me some content, because I don't know that much about vendor groups, networking and vendor groups. But I do know about networking. And yes, it's something we all need to be doing. And I can do another session on networking if you guys are open for it. Okay,
Okay.
alrighty.
Okay,
Okay, all right, guys, sounds great. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we'll see you next month, if not
see you
before.
next month. Mhm.
Bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
Have a great month, everyone.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, Alejandro. Great to see you.
Likewise.
Mm.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.